Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk about the Aaliyah situation again. Was having some little technical difficulties, but I'm back to business right now. But anyway, about this Aaliyah situation, it's coming up on the 20th anniversary of Aaliyah's passing away on August the 25th, 2001, and all of a sudden, this book is coming out now. Hey Lisa, by this woman. Um, Help me out here, Lisa. This woman, uh, Katie Logowski, Katie something or other. Sorry, my mind just blanked. Um, anyway, by this woman, it'll come to me. Uh, Katie um, Landau, right? Catherine Landau. So anyway, this woman is coming out with a salacious book about Aaliyah in her final days of the final trip. It's called Baby Girl, also known as Aaliyah. Basically alleging that Aaliyah, somebody in Aaliyah's camp slipped her sleeping pill, and um, the person coming out with it, the person making these allegations, besides the woman writing it, is Kingsley Russell, a young man who worked with Aaliyah back in 2001 as a bag carrier when he was 13 years old. Now, to me, these allegations are really salacious and really full of shit. Because, come on, guys, if this was true, they would have came out with this back in the day in 2001. Why are they coming out with this just now? Why are we just now hearing about this? And meanwhile, the woman's been dead for almost 20 years. Seems like the 20th anniversary, they're trying to make some money off of her. That's what it seems like to me. All of a sudden, what is this like? Some repressed memory situation, like with Michael Jackson finding Neverland? Is this like they didn't know it happened, and all of a sudden, oh, 20 years later, now we figured out, you know what? Somebody was slipping Aaliyah a sleeping pill, you know, after this. This seems like to me a money grab and a cash grab when it comes to this book. And I don't see why Aaliyah's fans will want to even purchase a book like this. I feel like, you know, this person is just trying to capitalize on what happened. And again, like I said earlier in another live stream, Landoli, and she also reported, and she has also compiled thoughts and a report that she said she will address in her book. Well, how can she address these thoughts, Lisa, when she wasn't even there allegedly? And again, the woman Fatima, who is a well-known choreographer that works with Aaliyah, that worked with Aaliyah for a number of years. She was well known to be the choreographer for the Rock the Boat video, the video shoot that Aaliyah was coming from in the Bahamas in 2001 when she died. How come we've never heard any of this stuff from Fatima? We've never heard any of this that Landoli is allegedly putting out there. We've never heard. This has never been talked about in E True Hollywood stories behind the music or anything like this. And Aaliyah's life is pretty much well known to the public by now. Yes, she had that sanitized image that I talked about when I talked about the Normani and Cardi B video and how they were kind of destroying her image by making her music over again, over sexualized. But at the same time, since her passing, we've pretty much known all there is to know about her. You know, her veil is completely lifted in terms of what what killed her. And Lisa's absolutely right when she says this. the supposed sleeping pill was not in the autopsy either. So, with a famous celebrity like Aaliyah, they're going to do an autopsy because one of the things they always look for in celebrities, we talked about this on my channel plenty of times before, is drugs. They always look for they always look for that salacious story that they could say that the person was using drugs, like Randy J. Tabarelli did with Michael Jackson when he wrote the books on Michael Jackson and he wrote the books on Diana Ross. So they always look for this kind of stuff, like with Britney Spears and everything. And this was never reported in any of Aaliyah's autopsies ever. So if it was true, we would have known about it by now. And of course, also in the news about Aaliyah, the second story that I wanted to address is concerning her record label and what the music that they're going to be allegedly putting out. Yes, Lisa is absolutely right. It wasn't her fault. She died, and it was the pilot's fault. But still, there'd be an autopsy on her. Exactly, Lisa. You're absolutely right. A famous person like her, a famous celebrity like her, a really big publicized death. It would have been all over the papers if she had something like that in her system. Anyway, another issue that I wanted to address was the issue with with her label and the music that new music that her uncle Barry Hankerson is putting out there or going to allegedly put out there. He plans to re-release the song "One in a Million." He plans to re-release several of her other songs on different dates, and he plans to release a compilation album with her and a lot of new artists, like basically remaking her songs and doing them over. And my thoughts on this is like, okay, let the girl's legacy just rest. Let the woman rest in peace. She's been gone for 20 years. But now all of a sudden, out of the blue, her uncle wants to relaunch her record label. Like, I mean, are you serious? The woman has been gone, like I said, for 20 years. And all of a sudden, you want to just capitalize on her death after the fact? Seems like a pretty low move on the part of the family. And to have other new artists jump on her bandwagon, like some of the people featured, going to be featured there. Yes, Background Records is the record company. This is you're right, and um uh and they're going to be re-releasing this album, and it's not determined when they're going to be. It's going to be basically like like what Diddy did for Biggie with Dead Wrong back in the day, where it's going to be like new artists like pretending they're like collaborating with Aaliyah and stuff. And her music has not been streamed yet because her uncle apparently, right, am I correctly on this, holding back the streaming rights for her. And that's really messed up too because a lot of fans want access to listen to her songs and they want to celebrate her music, but they really don't want her family. That's a lot of corruption and stuff. Her uncle trying to capitalize on her to really get access to her music, from what I understand. And it's understandable because when a celebrity passes away, a lot of times the family will use them as a way to continue a continual revenue stream, trying to dig their gold mine and keep digging and digging. And the hashtag recently, I Stand With Aaliyah, came out where Missy Elliott and Timbaland retweeted because they don't want this to happen. They don't want her legacy to be tarnished, and they don't want her to because he basically owns the rights, everything, all the rights to all her music, everything that's not um it's not her first album. You know what I mean? Like everything that's not the original one that she did with R. Kelly, which is Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. Anything that's not that, after that, with Timbaland and Missy stuff, he basically owns the rights to, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to continuously make more and more money and keep inducing her out. And her estate is really putting up a fight with that, as they should. See, the problem with Aaliyah is that, she was too young to have any children, so it's not like some of her money's gonna go to like one of her kids or whatever. She didn't have any children, so when it comes to this, her uncle, who's her next of kin living relative, and was in charge of her record label, is now taking advantage of her. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't this the same uncle that was married to Gladys Knight? Yeah, Lisa is absolutely right. I want to clear that up. It's not the whole family; it's just the uncle. But the uncle's the one in charge of her, so he kind of represents the whole family. But you see this a lot. Next thing you know, the next step he'll be doing is is making a hologram of her, like Pat Houston is trying to do with Whitney, and try to take her on tour. A hologram of her on tour next time. You know what I mean? Like you see this with Pat Houston and Whitney too. Too. You see this with Tupac's family and estate. It's like they can't stop bringing you up and can't stop mentioning you because they know that you bring in a lot of the dollars, and it's just really messed up because that's the next that you might think that's crazy, guys, but hey, who would think it with Whitney Houston's family, and Whitney Houston's family did exactly that? Who would think it with Tupac's family, and Tupac family did exactly that? So next thing you know, if the albums go good and they sell a lot of units, next thing you know, that'll be the next step that he'll be trying to do. Right. Okay, yeah, he'll be trying to, and right, Lisa, don't you think he will be trying to do that next? Hologram tours, Vegas tours with a hologram to try and capitalize on her. That'll be the next move. I mean, if the albums do really well. But what Aaliyah's fans got to do is Aaliyah fans got to not support these new projects and just make a protest against it and say, listen, I'm not going to go for that. I'm not going to support that because I know Barry Hankerson is just trying to make a buck off it. He's trying to cake up with all this stuff off of Leah's name, and he hadn't even done nothing. He's an untalented person. you know, he's just a greedy family member. And now the third thing that is being brought up, and it relates to the R. Kelly right, the hologram could be next. Because who would think it, Lisa, with Pat Houston, and she's doing it. She's coming up to it. She's coming up with it too. So, the next thing is the R. Kelly situation, and R. Kelly now is being brought up on charges of sexual assault, sexual trafficking, as he should. But this is being this is another rehash. We saw right. They said okay, it's saying that all the fans want to stream her music. Yeah, they want to stream her music, Lisa, but I don't think they should support a lot of these unauthorized projects concerning her and all these other new artists. I love Drake, but I think it's kind of weird how Drake is obsessed with somebody who's passed away so much. He wanted to remake Aaliyah's whole catalog. I mean, really, what's he trying to do? Like he's trying to do Aaliyah like Michael Jackson did the Beatles and Elvis. It's kind of weird. Like it's kind of creepy. He She's been passed away for 20 years. Why is he trying to do this? So anyway, that that's that situation in regards to the musical rights and everything. The next situation, like I said, was with R. Kelly. Now we know that he did this and he married her at 15 years old because apparently she couldn't testify. I mean, if they were married, a spouse in certain states cannot testify against her husband in statutory rape things. So he manipulated and he got into her mind as a young girl, and then he married her at this young age, and he even bribed certain police officers and certain authorities in order to do so. And R. Kelly is obviously an asshole. He's been accused of abusing several young ladies and even several young men now. Even young men are coming forth and saying that R. Kelly abused them, and R. Kelly is absolutely the worst human being around. Not the worst human being, but one of the worst offenders when it comes to sexual assault, and Aaliyah is one of his victims. But I don't think digging into this whole past of with R. Kelly and trying to blame the victim here. Because one of the things that I say is that a victim of sexual assault is never to blame. You know what I mean? Like when when the documentary of Surviving R. Kelly came out in 2019, a lot of people were saying, well, Aaliyah was old enough to know the difference between going with R. Kelly. She was old enough, she knew what she was doing. And a lot of women were making excuses, like they were pointing to their experience where they had been attracted to older men in their prime. But see, it's very different, guys, because y'all was attracted to older men, yeah, but was y'all courted by or was y'all pursued by men who were worth millions of dollars, men who could take you to the next level in your music career? No, I don't think you were manipulated on that level. The level that R. Kelly manipulated Aaliyah was was atrocious, man. How do you step into a young girl's life like that and then manipulate her to such a degree that you could get her to do whatever you want, even something that's illegal that could have landed her in jail, and then flaunt it in front of the people by making a song like Age Ain't Nothing But a Number? You're basically telling people what you was about, what you did, and everything. So R. Kelly should be absolutely thrown under the jail. But I think a lot of the people are are like trying to say, oh well, she wasn't that innocent. She, yeah, and they're not blaming her now. But what I'm saying, Lisa, they were blaming her. I heard that in 2019. I heard many people say, well, they were like, oh well, see, when especially like in the part in the documentary where somebody said they walked in on Aaliyah and R. Kelly having sex, they were like, oh, see, I told you she was responsible. She had agency. She knew what she was doing. I'm not saying they're doing that right now. Many of her fans are standing with her as in her memory as she goes through all of this. But I heard so many women throw her under the bus and men. They they're excusing sexual assault. And I want this to be clear right now. There's a video on my channel in the archives concerning Bill Cosby, and it's a little bit off topic, but I want this to be clear right now. I in no way support either Bill Cosby or R. Kelly or anybody that is allegedly convicted of sexual assault. I say I people that's defended R. Kelly, that's despicable, that's disgusting, and should never be tolerated ever. You know what I mean? Male or female. There's indefensible sexual assault. What R. Kelly has done and what he's been accused of. with Aaliyah and multiple people. And what he did to Aaliyah was particularly egregious because he not only manipulated her to have sex, but he manipulated her to get married and break the law at the same time. And probably would have manipulated her to have a baby because allegedly she was pregnant with his child. She was allegedly pregnant at the time, at 15 years old. R. Kelly is a disgusting person for what he did to Aaliyah, and anybody that blames Aaliyah for what R. Kelly has done, and want to excuse R. Kelly just because he's a quote unquote great artist and he made "I Believe I Could Fly" and he made all those great pseudo gospel songs, man, fuck you because of that. Because when a minor undergoes sexual abuse, it stays imprinted in the mind forever. It stays imprinted in the mind forever. And a lot of times you do become codependent and you do fall in love with your abuser because you become to the point obsessed and codependent on 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 your abuser. And people say, well, why do you stick around in that relationship? But when you're so manipulated at such a very young age, you don't realize how bad it really is for you, how much of a trap you're really caught into, especially when it's somebody that has a lot of power and a lot of influence over you, like with R. Kelly and Aaliyah, where it was her manager and he was in charge of her career to shape her career. Am I glad they're bringing this up in the trial? Yes, I'm glad they are bringing it up in the trial, Lisa, because he deserves to go to jail. And he deserves to be prosecuted for what he has done. And I'm also glad too they're covering it up with Jane Doe because we all know who it is, we all know who it refers to, but there's no need to drag her name through the mud because it's old news, it's old hat. We're all familiar with it. We all know the story. One of the things that really affects me when it comes to Aaliyah's story is that Aaliyah passed away in August 25th, 2001, a day before my birthday. And the morning I woke up was when I found out that she passed away. And she was a beautiful girl. She brought her own style to the game, and her style was uniquely her style. Like R. Kelly takes a lot of credit for it in the beginning, the style that she created, but he didn't create that style. She created her own style. He might have given her some pointers or whatever when it came to it, but she was uniquely her style was uniquely her own. But am I glad they're bringing it to the trial? Absolutely, Lisa. I'm glad they're bringing it to the trial. They should bring out all of R. Kelly's cases because I'm sure he's abused several celebrity women that he has worked with. For example, Sparkle, as well as another one that he was known for abusing, and he should be brought to trial and brought to justice for whomever he abused. So bring it up, but no need to keep using her name. Just put her in as a Jane Doe like they're doing, and that's all. That's my thoughts on it. I feel like a lot of people are digging at her bones in a sense. They're like vultures between her uncle, between a lot of these newer artists that are trying to use her name for clout. Yes, she was born in New York. She was born in Brooklyn, they said. A lot of new artists that are trying to use her name for clout. A lot of um the record companies and stuff. They're digging at her bones like vultures. Leave this woman alone. Let her family and the people that loved her and the people that cared about her, like Damon that like I Damon Dash, for example, who was in love with her, who was gonna get married to her, and they were gonna start a family together. That's one of the biggest tragedies when it comes to that. Hearing that story is that when you hear about how much he loved her and how much he, he was going to devote to her and how much they were going to start a family together and um they were going to settle down and they were going to do all this kind of stuff, and he really had a lot of big dreams for her when it came to it in interviews. Yes, Lisa is absolutely right. It's too much stuff at a 20th anniversary. They're trying to dig her bones up and trying to shame her at this point in time, and leave the woman alone. Whatever it is what it is. Whatever it was is what it was. Let's enjoy her music. Let's celebrate her legacy. I feel like, and even on the Normani video, um, that I posted, there was some woman on there, and me and Lisa both got into it with her, that was trying to say, "Oh well, Aaliyah wasn't all that innocent. She had skeletons in her closet. Sure, we all have skeletons in our closet. Who among us, like Jesus said in the scriptures, he without sin cast the first stone. Who among us is sinless? Come on, I'm sure if we dug up in all our private lives, we would all have skeletons. But that doesn't take away from the musical genius that she was and the impact that she had on the 90s. For example, every girl back in the 90s had that one eye look, that was a Leah type look. And she was gonna constantly be reinventing herself in the movies and everything. And I don't feel like it's right for other artists and all these record companies to dig at her bones like a bunch of vultures in the greed that they are, the fear mongering that they are, the salacious gossip mongering that they can participate in. So my opinion of it, Lisa, is that I don't feel it's right. I feel they can all go to hell. And anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you, Lisa, for all the help. Tremendous help. I blanked out on certain names, and YouTube just messes up a lot of times. But thank you guys for the love and support. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Love ya, and rest in peace to Aaliyah, and rest in peace to DMX as well. Peace. Oh yeah, yeah, Lisa. I think it did start with Normani, and I didn't realize you were still talking, Lisa. So I'm sorry, my bad. It did start with Normani and Cardi B. Yep. hmm It, it resurrect because see, you can resurrect old demons, Lisa. You know what I mean? You can. I believe that. That's why you don't play with when it comes to the dead. The people that passed away, because you can resurrect a lot of these old demons, and you're not letting their spirit rest in peace. You're continuously digging them up and digging them up, and basically, you know what it is too, Lisa, is that a lot of these newer celebrities, they're kind of boring. So when it comes to the gossip people, like the Wendy Williamses of the world or the Starbuck Wilds of the world, they got to dig up all the old school people because the new school people aren't even that interesting. You know what I mean? So they're trying to dig at the people from back in the day, the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, because they can't now have anybody from this era that anybody really cares about. That's why Versus is so popular. Versus is so popular because the artists these days are not interesting. So people are not going to really care about the rumors that's really going on with the Cardi B's of the world or the Normani's of the world. You know what I mean? They care about people back in the day because people back in the day actually meant something and they actually made good music. That's just my opinion. Anyway, guys, I love y'all. Peace. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out.